Hello YouTube. Today we're putting in a Gate Pico into a KWA RM4 AEG 3.0, whatever the hell they're calling it these days. These are the things that have the little switch life extenders, which are basically a flyback diode on their motor. So if you use a different motor you lose that, but again I don't think it really works because we tried that like 15-20 years ago in the Airsoft community and it didn't really work. But anyway, Gate Pico, tiny ass MOSFET. Yeah, it's right there. That is not actual size. Yeah, that's how big it is, or how small it is. Oh, it could be small or big. Everything's relative. So it's going to go right there. I'm going to put it right there. We're going to cut this blue marked area out with the Dremel, just so we gain extra room for the wires. And I'm going to cover this stuff up too, so we don't have to clean shavings out of bearings. So here's the gearbox after cutting out the back part. So I removed about, I'd say, 10 to 12 millimeters of length off the back of that. You can see right there with the Dremel, and then I just took a little hobby file and knocked down any sort of burrs, so there's nothing for the wire to chafe on. So we can easily fit Gate Pico, because even though it fits, it's going to be bigger because the heat shrink it uses is quite thick, and of course it's going to have the power wire on it and the gate wire. Okay, we're turning our attention to the trigger contacts now, the wiring harness. So this one's kind of beat up. It's got some nicks in the insulation and the heat shrink and all that, and some previous soldering jobs and all that other fun stuff. So it's, especially the negative wire, fairly damaged. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to put some new wire in. But normally what you would do is you would, when installing a Gate Pico, or many other MOSFETs as well, is you would remove one side of the trigger switch, one of the positive wires, and attach both positive wires to the same terminal on the switch. So, like the last one of these I did that had good wires, I took this guy, desoldered him, moved him to here, and then you attach your signal wire, which can be really, really thin, small. Attached him right to there, so that when the trigger shuttle went forward, it made the connection, energized the signal wire, and sent all that power right through the MOSFET down to your motor without burning out your contacts. So I'm going to cut some wire. I always just cut longer than needed because you can make things shorter, can't make them longer. Well, you can't make things longer, solder. But I'd rather have it longer and just cut it down afterwards. But the shuttle on this guy is kind of burnt. So let's see if I can get a good focus on him. Get some good light too. Let's get under this. So there's one side that is kind of burnt. That the metal part there in the middle, not the little round circle, but the middle actual contact should be closer to that plastic bar. And it's not. See, this side's perfect. This side is the side that the switch life extender actually saves, but the most of your arcing occurs on the first side to meet on the under contacts on the hot side, or the battery side. I guess that would be motor side, battery side. So that arc from the what would be high amperage, high voltage, erodes away. So what I'm going to do is actually I would have purchased one of these from KWA, as they're $10 roughly for just this, if you purchase it from KWA USA themselves. The whole wiring harness is I think $25. I have one that was broken, so it's got a broken little foot there, little peg, so he's in pretty good shape. Let's focus. So we can salvage him with a little bit of fiber scratch pen action and some contact cleaner in These guys don't look bad either. So the trigger contacts themselves should be easily to be salvaged. Right there, focus. So these guys are pretty good shape. Just clean them up a tiny bit, and clean this guy up a tiny bit. Take the metal out, the actual metal shuttle part out. Put the metal into this shuttle, which has both ears, and that way we should be good to go with some new wiring. And this also has the stock that has the wiring trough in the stock. So that's just held on there. Some screws. And so it's got these little channels. Another reason we need to use a smaller, like a 18 gauge wire. You could get some 16 gauge Teflon PTFE coated wire, which I'm using 18 PTFE coated. So, but it's really good. I know some people will go crazy with wiring, but thickness. So we just want to lay down in there. We don't want any joins or anything kind of messing with that or chafing against that, which could be the reason why some of this chafing occurred. I just want a nice solid piece of wire. Okay, we're at the next stage. I have soldered the wires to the MOSFET, the Gate Pico. So on this side we have the signal wire, which is like a 22 gauge wire right there. And on the other side we have the negative wires. There we go. So we have the negative wires. So on the same side as the signal wire, you have your short lead, which goes to your motor, and on your battery side you have your long wire, which goes to your battery. And here you can see how I'm running the wires. So we got both our positive wires on one side of the trigger switch, on one tab. The other tab right there, this guy will soon be attached to that. We'll soon solder him to there. I'm running this other wire, the positive wire that goes to the motor, under this, so there's room for the trigger to clear it. So there's a cutout on the trigger right there, you know, standard version of the trigger, and it needs to be able to clear the wires. So that's why I'm doing that instead of having them stacked on top of each other right there. And the small signal wire is the bottommost wire. You can see it runs over and down underneath and under there until it gets to the MOSFET that it joins into there. You can just barely see them right there. Let's put them in the center of the screen. There we go, that's better. And when I put the heat shrink on, you can only put so much before it's too tall for this sort of application, or too long, makes it too stiff. So what I'm going to do is just dab a little liquid tape on that, and that'll fix that little bit of wire poking out that didn't make it underneath the heat shrink. It could also just be the glue, but yeah, maybe it is just the glue. The heat shrink I used, actually the heat shrink it comes with, is the marine type heat shrink, so it has glue inside of it, so it sticks down and stays on it. It's a thicker heat shrink as well. Okay, and you can see I soldered the signal wire, and I also use a little bit of super glue to stick down those two wires there so they don't interfere with the motor shaft. So on to the next part. Okay, gearbox is back together, and you can see right here where we made the cut. Just needed that clearance just to fit that in there. You could probably wedge it in there if you were, I don't know, if you're really forceful, but I wouldn't trust it. I would just cut the gearbox to be sure, because it's easy enough. So there you have it, a successful install into a KWA RM4, ERG, AEG 3.0, even AEG 2.5, same gearbox on that one, the non-recoil one. That's the install in a nutshell. So if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, whatnot, and have a good one.